Good morning. Welcome to Sunday morning. I'm Faye Chapel. Take a slow breath before we even start. Wherever you are, whatever the week left in you, if this past week felt heavier than you expected, it's not a problem. That's the whole point because this is week 3 and we asked a lot this month, right? We didn't just talk about rewriting your story. We did the actual rewrite. We named the chapter you kept replaying. We sat with grief inside it and we looked at that chapter and said that we're getting ready for something new. How we start our Sunday sets the tone for our entire week. So welcome to the Sunday Morning Club, the show dedicated to intentional living and personal growth. I'm Faye Chapel, and on behalf of all of us here at Elevated Living, I invite you to take this time for yourself to find your center and fill up your cup. I'm so glad you're here. Here's the thing that nobody warns you about. When you change a chapter of your story, your whole brain has to update. So let me explain that in plain English, okay? Your brain doesn't store memories the way a computer stores memories, right? It stores them the way you tell a story. So it has shape, meaning, cause and effect. So every time you remember something, your brain doesn't just play that file back, it rebuilds it right there. It forms all those pieces and puts them all together. And that's how memories change over time. Not because they're broken, because every replay, essentially, you're rewriting a little bit of your story. So this is the good news. It means that the story you tell yourself about who you used to be and who you are now is editable, right? It's not faked. It's edited. It's updated with new meaning. But here's the catch. When you start rewriting a big chapter, there's a stretch where you just don't have the same old story anymore, and the new one isn't quite solid yet. And that stretch kind of feels awful. So it feels floaty, kind of off balance, like you forgot something important, right? And some people call it the in between. I call it kind of the wobble. So your brain hates the wobble. So it will quietly try to drag you back to the old story, the one that hurt. But at least it was familiar, right? So you'll catch yourself kind of rehearsing it and you defend it and you play it at 3 a.m. And it's not a setback. It's your brain doing its job. It's just doing it kind of badly. So the real job is to let that wobble exist long enough for that new story to filter in. And that's why we breathe today. That's why we write today. That's why we do something physical today. We're giving your nervous system the room to let the old story go without any panic, right? So here's a part I want you to really hear. Grief is part of this. Not because something tragic happened, right? Because something real is ending. Even when the chapter was hard, even when you wanted to get out of it, even when the sequel sounded so much better, there was still grief because it was yours. And people skip this part, right? They want the upgrade without saying goodbye to the old identity. They want the new identity without really putting down the old identity and letting it just rest. So it doesn't really work that way, because if you're feeling something heavy today, that's not weakness, essentially. That's really accuracy. So this morning, we're not going to bypass any of it. We're going to give it space. We're going to use the breath to settle the body down. We're going to use some prompts for journaling to move through grief, not around it. And we're going to use a small little physical ritual to tell your whole system that this chapter is closing, because we're moving on to bigger and better things. So here's the real headline. The sequel that you're looking to do is already running, right? You're already in it. You're not waiting for the new chapter to start. It started the moment you let yourself notice that the old one was over. So the moment you let one truth land that you've been swatting away for years, right? That happened. The moment you wrote a sentence in your journal that would have been impossible to write a month ago. That's the sequel. It's not the future version of you doing something massive and dramatic. It's the present version of you. It's living differently, quietly, living it already. So today's job is to feel that the closing of one chapter and the start of the next at the same time, both are happening in one body. And that's a lot to hold. So we hold it together, but let's settle in and try to do it together. So get comfortable, sit down or lie down, whatever your body you feel like it needs today. I want you to close your eyes if that feels right. Or if not, just soften your gaze. Whatever feels right to you today. I want you to take a slow breath in and out. And notice the weight of your body, where you're held. The chair, the floor, the bed. You don't have to do anything with it. Just notice where you're being held. Where are you taking up space? And I want you to bring your attention to your chest. Right under your collarbone and down to the bottom of your rib cage, right? The whole front of the body from shoulders to belly. This is a place we're really focusing on today because this is where we essentially carry the things that we haven't said yet, the things we haven't put down, the grief that doesn't have words. So you might feel tightness, you might feel heaviness, you might feel nothing at all, and any of that is absolutely fine. So I want you to just notice, is your chest warm or is it cold? Is it heavy or is it light? Is it open or is it closed? I don't want you to change it. I just want you to describe it to yourself. Because this week asked a lot of this part of your body. You held something here that was hard, right? Even if you weren't fully aware of what you were holding, your chest knew. And if you haven't listened to our podcast or read any of the Spark newsletters in LinkedIn, go back and do it because that's where we started this work. And it progresses each week, right? So we start with a LinkedIn newsletter, our podcast, our backstage, and then we move into Sunday Ritual. They are all connected, the same lessons all throughout the week. So let's take one slow breath right into the space, right into our chest. And imagine the breath going where the holding is. Right? Don't push it out. Just keep it company. Just leave your breath here and breathe. And again. No fancy breathing. Notice if anything softens or doesn't. Both are fine. This isn't a fixing exercise. It's a meeting. You and the part of your body that carried the hardest part of this week. So I want you to stay there for a moment. And whenever you're ready, take a slightly deeper breath in. And let's move into a little bit more standard breath work. So let's do a coherent breath work, which is 5 in, 5 out, no pauses. It's called coherent, as I have said. It's very simple. There's no pause at the top. There's no pause at the bottom. It's just an even, smooth wave. So I'm going to tell you why you're using this one today. Because the why really matters in breath work. And as you guys have joined me each and every week, you've learned to do different breathing techniques. So for this one, when you breathe in, your heart speeds up a little bit. And you breathe out, your heart slows down. And that's normal and that's healthy. But when the rhythm between these two, your breath and your heartbeat gets steady and even, your whole nervous system follows. So your body stops scanning for danger, right? And really the thinking part of your brain sort of comes back online. The part that handles meaning or story or sense making. That's the part we need today. So coherent breathing is also the safest pattern for any week that you have really heavy emotion in. So it doesn't pump you up. It doesn't drop you down. It widens the room so you feel like you are just getting flooded with good emotions. We're going to do this for a few minutes. You can do it as long as you want. So let's do 3 rounds. I'll count out loud. And after that, I'll go quiet and let you find your own rhythm. You can stop the recording if you're watching the recording, and I'll come back at the end to bring us out of it. So if 5 seconds you feel is too long, then drop it to 4. If you want a longer breath, take 6. Don't force the count. Find the rhythm your body can hold. So let's start. We're going to breathe in 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going at your own pace. 5 in, 5 out. If your mind wanders, that's fine. Just bring it back to the count. The breath is the anchor, and everything else can drift through. So stop here and continue to going. Maybe do 5 minutes, maybe do 10 minutes, whatever your body feels like it needs. And when you're done, I want you to start to notice your breath again and stay with the rhythm. Take one more full breath in and let it go all the way out. And when you're ready, let your breath return to normal. Don't try to control it anymore. Just sit for a moment with what's there. And after you've done this breathing, just notice if anything feels different in your chest, in your hands, in your shoulders, in your face. You don't have to name it. Just notice if there's something different. And when you're ready, we'll move into some journaling and some prompting to really drive what we're doing in. So we're going to write 5 prompts or 5 questions. So I want you to have your notebook handy as always. Before we start, I want one thing. You're going to be tempted to write the polished version. Remember? The version that sounds wise, the version you'd be okay reading out loud later. Don't. I want you to write the messy version, the one that's actually true, the one you wouldn't say in a meeting, the one your brain has been editing for years and years and years. Because this morning, your job is to write it without editing. I want it to be ugly. I want it to not make sense. I want it to be contradict yourself. That's the version that has anything new in it. So if you only have time for one prompt today, right? If you think you only have time, then I would say prompt 3 is probably the most important, but that's the sequel piece, and that's the heart of today, but I would like you to do all of them if you can. So prompt 1 is called locating. So I want you to think about this as the chapter I keep going back to is. Finish that sentence. Write the one that your brain replays at 3 a.m. Not the one that sounds important, the one that actually keeps showing up in your thoughts uninvited. It might be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be a version of yourself that you couldn't keep being. It could be a loss, or it could be a choice that you're still defending. But I want you to be specific, because use real names if you want. No one's reading this. At least I don't think so. So I want you to write the version of your brain, the replay, right? Write the version that your brain replays over and over again and that you just can't stop it. Because that's the one we want you to write down. And if you write down 3 lines and that's all you can do, that's fine. That's enough. You don't need to write any more than that. So take a few minutes and write what always keeps you up at night that you keep replaying over and over again. Okay, prompt 2 is the examination. So let's go with this sentence. The grief I'm actually caring about, this is the one that people skip, right? Even if the chapter was bad, even if you want it out, there's grief, right? Because it was yours, because you spent real time there, because some version of you lived there. So write about what you're actually grieving. The lost version of yourself, maybe it's the wasted years, the thing that you thought you'd have by now, the person you were when you didn't know yet, right? Don't wrap it up, just name it. So what is that grief that you're actually keep carrying around over and over again. So you've got what keeps you up, right? The story, and now the grief. What are you holding on to? So prompt 3, which I said was the most important, and it's called reframe. And think about it this way. If that chapter was preparation, what was it preparing me for? Think about what you just wrote in the last 2 prompts. If that chapter that you keep going back to was preparation, what was it preparing me for? I don't want you to force a big poetic answer. Just write down whatever arrives in your head. Remember, nobody's reading this. There's no right or wrong. Maybe it taught you what you can survive. Maybe it taught you what you'll never tolerate again. Maybe it taught you a skill, a sensitivity, a clarity you wouldn't have otherwise. And maybe you just don't know yet, and that's okay too. So write down, I think it was teaching me, and then see what comes from there, right? It's a good way to start it. I think the chapter I'm thinking about was teaching me whatever. See what happens. The chapter was not wasted. It was a setup, right? It was a setup for things to come. So I want you to find that setup. What do you think it was preparing you for? Prompt 4 is the activation. So it's basically the sequel. The part of my story that's already happening looks like this is one, right? This is the one. I want you to write your present, not your dream, not your goal, your right now. The choices you're already making, the conversations you're already having, the small things you're doing differently, right? The way you held your ground last week, or the thing you said yes to, or the thing you said no to. The sequel isn't a future version of you doing something and something dramatic, because everyone always says, oh, vision your goals and what you want to be. No, what we're trying to do now is it's the version of you living right now differently than when you were before. I want you to write that down. Small things you might be doing differently. That's your sequel. That's what you've started doing. You're not waiting. You're in it right now. What are you doing right now? And the final prompt, number 5, is the declaration. This chapter is done. What I'm walking forward with is. Now, write it as a declaration out loud on paper. I don't want it to be a wish. I want it to be a statement. So this chapter is done. I'm walking forward with, and then finish that sentence, right? You don't have to feel finished to write it. The declaration comes first, and then the feeling catches up. So some people write one sentence. Some people write a paragraph. Both are right. Just make sure it's a statement, not a question, okay? Statement, not a question. This chapter is done, whatever I've been doing, and I'm walking forward with, or I'm moving towards doing this. I'm moving, I'm doing, I'm walking. The movement is there. You're already doing it, okay? So when you finish that, put your pen down and take a deep breath after that last sentence. Whatever you wrote, let it be enough. Because we're going to do one more thing this morning, just a small little physical practice, because you just wrote, what you just wrote needs to really land in your body, okay? Thinking alone won't carry it across. Stay where you are, put your pen down, and soften your eyes. Because this week's practice is a completion ritual, and here's why it matters, okay? Your body has its own kind of memory. It's different from the kind that your thinking brain uses. Your thinking brain can decide that the chapter is over, but your body needs proof. So physical action gives your body proof. So when you do something physical to mark the end of a chapter, burn it, tear it, wash it away, you're sending a message to your nervous system, and the nervous system actually receives it. It's not symbolic at all. It's real. Your body files that chapter as closed. You hear of rituals that people do. This is going to be yours. So this works because your body and your brain don't run on the same clock, right? Your brain can update really, really fast. Your body updates a little bit slower. Until you give it a physical signal, it keeps holding that old chapter like it's still active, right? So here's the practice. Take a fresh piece of paper. I want you to write the old version of your chapter on it. Not a long one or two sentences. The shortest version that's absolutely true. And then choose how you're going to end it, right? This was that old chapter you don't want anymore. You can burn it, hopefully outside in a fire pit or in a fireplace or in a metal bowl in a sink, and just watch it go. You're saying, I'm ending this chapter. You can tear it up into small pieces and keep going until it looks like there's no words anymore and you can't see anything, so you can throw it out. You can drop it in a sink full of water and watch the ink dissolve and then drain it. Pick whatever really feels right for you and don't overthink it, because as you do it, say one sentence out loud, whatever your declaration was from prompt 5. Get it? Because you said, I'm walking towards. So you're burning your chapter, you're getting rid of it, and you're just going to do your declaration. I'm walking towards the new me doing this. That's the whole practice. That's it. I want you to do it today, not next week. I want you to do it today. It'll feel really small while you're doing it, and that's normal because the result lands later, right? So don't discount this work. I want you to take a breath again. You did the real work this morning. You did the real work this week. You did the real work this month. So let me name what's actually happened. So 3 weeks ago, beginning of April, you started looking at the story that you were telling yourself about who you used to be. 2 weeks ago, you cleaned up the language. And that was keeping that language that was keeping really the old version stuck, right? This week, you sat with the actual chapter, the one your brain keeps replaying. And you named what was inside it, the grief, the gift, the sequel that was already running. So you're not the same person who started at the beginning of April, but you're not totally different, but you're just not the same. So something shifted, and I want you to let it really count, because next Sunday is the last ritual of April, right? It's the last Sunday. The theme is showing up as who you are now in public. It's about visibility. So to the people who only knew the old version of you, they're going to see the new version of you. We'll talk about how to be visible without performing being visible, and how to let people meet that new chapter without explaining yourself for an hour, or how to walk into a room differently. It's a good week to close all of April with. So if you haven't already read it, go ahead and read Spark, or read my Substack, or listen to the Too Late My Ass podcast. Or if you are part of our community Inner Circle, you know we dove a little deeper. We did a lot more in April on this subject, because everything aligns, right? So again, go read something, take a couple minutes in your inbox, and it's a great gateway or doorway into next week. So hopefully you'll be joining me again. Can't wait to see you. Don't forget, subscribe to Spark on LinkedIn, subscribe to the podcast, and then check out our Inner Circle at toolightmyass.com if you want to dive even deeper into this. Now, you don't have to. You can just join us every single Sunday and set that little bit of time aside for you. And with that, our time together comes to a close. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. Take that feeling of this space with you and let it guide your actions and reactions this week. I'm Faye Chappell. On behalf of everyone here at Elevated Living, I'm wishing you a week of profound peace and clarity. This episode